Welcome to week 4 assignment video. Today I'm excited to dive into your roadmap so you can start taking aligned action towards your intended reality so your thoughts can become your things. So let's dive right in. If you can grab your list from last week of all the things that you want right now, all your desires are written down on one or possibly two lists. I'd like you to grab those and have them in front of you. Once you do that, I want you to go step by step through each of your desires and write one inspired action you can take this week towards your intended reality. So an example would be you want to build a house. Do you know what neighborhood you want to build a house in? You could drive over to that neighborhood. You can look at lots. You can get familiar with the convenience stores or grocery stores in that area. Again, I have not seen your list. I don't know what's on them, but I just want to start stimulating some inspired action. So you know your list though. And if your desire is to live in another city, or state, what action could you take this week that could align you with that? Have you been on a website to see what types of homes are in that area? Are you going to live in a loft or a house? If you're wanting to build a house too, you can always reach out and start asking around about builders. You'd want to interview builders before you build a house, right? Or I would highly recommend going and visiting with a few different builders before making a decision. There are so many decisions that go into place prior to making any sort of move that there is at least one thing you can do this week to have aligned action. Even if it's getting on Pinterest and start pinning ideas of what your next space is going to look like and feel like, okay? If you have a new vehicle, a different type of vehicle on your list of desires. Have you ever went for a test drive in one of those vehicles? Or you could consider renting that vehicle from an app called Churro. Um, Churro is kind of like Airbnb, but for cars. So you're dealing with an actual individual who is basically renting their car out to you for a day or XYZ, a few days. I've been using Churro on my weekend travels and it's been very cool. You can go in and you can be very specific on the type of car you're looking for. And that's an inexpensive way to get a feel for that vehicle. Because most of the time when you go test drive a vehicle, you're dealing with a salesperson, and if they're riding along with you, you might not get a really accurate feel for what it would be like to have that. So if you rent one from Churro for a weekend, then you can drive it around all weekend and get a real sense of what it would be like to have that vehicle. And again, you might find out that there are things on your list that you don't actually want once you dive into the process. So be open to learning about yourself and your likes and your dislikes and all of that. And rather than approaching this with fear of the unknown or whatever, you can approach it with a sense of curiosity, which I've mentioned as well. Other examples would be if you own a business right now and you are just miserable, you hate every part of your business right now, it might be time to have a business evaluation done. Maybe it's time to sell your business and do something different. So what inspired action could you take this week to look into that? Or perhaps you're wanting to start your own business. Do you know what that's going to take? Have you secured let's just say a website domain? If you're going to have a website with your business, have you secured the domain? Do you have an LLC set up? Take one step of inspired action that aligns with your intended reality this week. Plain and simple as that, but it's also very powerful because everything in your life is starting to align. The thoughts you're telling your mind, and your mind is listening. You're rewiring and you're creating these new beliefs, which are formed and secured through observation. So when you're taking action, then you are aligning that with your intended reality. And before you know it, your intended reality is right here, right in front of you. And not only that, you feel the sense of joy and peace and happiness from within because you are consciously creating your reality. So I'm going to leave you on that note, and good luck with your assignment. I know you're going to do well. Just take your time, write out your aligned actions, and then put them in your calendar because it's one thing to write it down. It's another thing to actually schedule it and go do it. So be sure that you follow all the way through with your aligned actions. Even if they're the tiniest of action, download the Pinterest app. Maybe that's the first step. Okay. All right. As always, if you have any questions, please shoot over an email and I'll be happy to respond. Thanks so much. Take care.